Hi, I'm Kerry with Best of Us in Retirement. Been retired since 2005, and I got to thinking of I've done pretty well in retirement, and I have said I think Nita and I have mastered retirement. But I got to thinking, did you make any mistakes that you'd be willing to admit on your videos? I said, yeah, I think there are, and one of them, and Nita would argue with this, was pictured in the thumbnail. That's a 2006 Porsche that I bought for my wife when I was making far too much money and had far little sense. And I actually bought her the first one, I think it was in 2002 while I was working, but that one didn't have front wheel drive or four wheel drive, and it was, the blue one, was prone to hydroplane, so I had to replace it with that convertible that you see in the thumbnail. So why was that a mistake? Well, I don't know as far as marriage relations it was a mistake, but financially it was a mistake. I did some figuring, and I said it cost $105,000, and I thought to myself, well, what if I had bought her a used VW Bug for $5,000, and I put that $100,000 remaining into the NASDAQ market in 2006 when we bought it. Well, as you might know, the market then took a downturn as a part of the subprime crisis, but let's assume I go ahead and I left it in the NASDAQ. What would that $100,000 be worth today? About $606,250, $606,000, as opposed to that car right now is probably, if I took it and traded it in on a new one, it would probably bring me somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000, as opposed to $606,000. So was that a mistake? My marriage stayed together, but I think my point is, as you are making purchases, ask yourself, would I be better off renting it? I've seen people who put pools in their backyard. I see people who buy boats. Some people even buy airplanes. And I ask myself, would it be better to have rented it? Or I never bought an airplane. So then the issue is, being retired, we're probably going to die with it. So how's it going to be disposed of? Well, I've got some back history on that. When Nita was pregnant, and in 1969, Virgil, her father, called and said, hey, if you'll give me a grandson, I'll buy him his first car. And I said, Virgil, the deed is done. There's nothing I can do about it at this point. Well, about 9 months later, Trent was born. And in fact, Virgil went out in 1969 and bought a red 350 with chrome side ports convertible Corvette. And yes, we still have it. It's still sitting in a storage unit someplace. But I think that cost $3,500 in 1969. I didn't do the research to find out what that would be worth. Okay, what was the next mistake? Oh, let me show you, though, first. This is the other car that sits in the garage that, and that only complicates and multiplies the bad decision problem. Buying collectibles. Nita and I got into a bad habit of buying art and buying collectibles. Back in the, I guess it was the 70s, we got into antiques. And we bought this dining room table and sideboard, and it's a 1785 Hepplewhite furniture. I think we paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,500 for it. What you're seeing there is probably worth $65,000 now. That was a good investment. The issue is turning it into money. The interest in antiques has waned. This table and sideboard actually has a duplicate in the Smithsonian Institute, which I have seen. So is that a good investment? It is if my son and my grandson are able to turn it into cash when Nita and I pass away. So that's the question. Would it have been worth substantially more? I'm not sure. Then there's this piece of art. This is a Frank Fleming sculpture. Again, in our heyday, Nita thinks we paid $7,000 for it. Again, if I had put it in the NASDAQ market, it would be $42,000 today. Should I? Would I? I don't know. We've enjoyed it, but we may have enjoyed the $42,000 a heck of a lot more. But my point is, as we are going through life, and particularly in retirement, as we have these temptations presented to us, we need to think about our options. Should we buy this beautiful piece of art that Frank has since passed away and probably has escalated in price? I haven't been successful in finding out if it's worth $42,000. And then there is the issue when you pass away, your children have to be smart enough to convert it into cash. Or would it be better to convert it into cash now? More issue than it is. One mistake I did not make was buy a timeshare. Just let me share with you, that is probably the worst thing you can buy and leave to your children or your grandchildren, because there is no demand for them anymore. In fact, Nita has a cousin who bought 2 units in Daytona Beach for nothing more than that year's taxes. And then she bought another one for $1. So, and they're difficult when you pass away to convert. And you don't know that your kids and your grandkids want to go to that one place every year for their family vacation. So stay away from timeshares. Number 4, raw land. Nita's parents bought raw land. They bought 3 lots in Florida back in 1962. I would guess they paid somewhere around $600 for them. Those lots today are still worth $600 if you can find anybody to buy them. They're just not in the right place. They're not on the beach. They're not next to Disney World, and thus they probably are worth. And yet, we still have the pleasure of paying property taxes on them every year. And when we go to a realtor to try to dispose of them, he basically says, you're probably going to pay more in real estate commissions and closing costs and lawyers' fees than you're going to get out of them. So there's going to be a negative sale. We're just hanging on, hoping that Disney World goes on a massive expansion program. So we have inherited raw land. And I would say, unless you know that there is a use for it, don't buy it. Don't buy it, particularly out of state. It's very difficult to dispose of. Then probably my biggest mistake in retirement, but on the other hand, something I totally enjoyed, and that was the writing of The Christmas Web. I've told you about it in other videos. It's a children's book that is based upon our Christmas tradition. I put a lot of time and energy. I learned a lot. I had it made in China and shipped here, and this is the remnants of it. This is what's sitting in my garage, about 2,500 copies of it that I have no market for at this point, and my interest in creating that market has diminished substantially. So it is a mistake. I put about $125,000 in it. If I had put that $125,000 in 2012 into the Dow, it would be worth $343,000. So it was a mistake. It was a big mistake that Kerry made in his retirement, and he wishes he hadn't, but he's okay that he has. But what I would like to say to you as part of that, if you have a use for any of these books, and I'll put a link in the description here that you can go to a website or a video. That's what I'll do. I'll connect you to the video, and you can see exactly what the Christmas web is. And then if you have a organization or a means of use for these, give me a call, get in touch with me. And if you're willing to pull a truck up to my garage and help me empty my garage, I'm sure we can come to a mutually beneficial arrangement. Again, it's called the Christmas Web. I'll put a link into the description where you can see exactly what it is, and then you can get in touch with me. So those are the mistakes that I made in my retirement. I have, on the other side of the ledger, I've made some very good decisions. I have become a very good investor. I understand the stock market. I understand the financial markets, because one thing that I did in my retirement that has just paid handsome rewards is I took up reading. Yeah, I took up reading. Now, I'm dyslexic, so I don't read well. So I have a crutch, and that crutch is Audible. If I find a book that I think is going to give me knowledge and make me smarter and make me a better investor, I get it on Audible. And I like to run, I like to walk, so I plug these ear pods into my ears and I listen to the book and I learn. And I have become astute in certain areas of the stock market, thus that I make a handsome living every year off of my investments. So I made some mistakes. I've learned from those mistakes, and I'm sharing those mistakes so that you can learn from them. And I think I'm a better person as a result of it. As I said, my marriage is held together, so maybe the Porsche wasn't such a bad, it was a financial mistake, but maybe it was an investment in my marriage. And the Christmas Web, drastic, probably the biggest financial mistake I made, but I also understand the tax code, so I maintained a business posture where I am making money, and so I get to write that $125,000 loss off against future taxes. So, who ends up paying for my mistake? You do, the American taxpayer. But that's the way the world works. That's why Donald Trump never shares his tax return, because his casinos in Atlantic City went belly up, because he loses money on a lot of his real estate transactions, at least on paper, because Donald knows how to use the tax code, as does every other senator and representative. They understand how to use the tax code, so they can make mistakes in their retirement or while they're working and still benefit. Okay, those are my mistakes. I was raised Catholic, so this will be my confession for this week. And as it is Sunday. So I'm feeling good about my confession. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.